Vanakkam, namaste. Welcome. Sorry, we had a little technical issue there. One of our team is not well, and then he had to give what's that, like a confirmation so that we could get in the Zoom, and then we had to make a new Zoom. So anyway, hopefully people will join this. Um, yeah, this is the third talk that I am giving, and yeah, it's quite exciting to share with you, not like, from a technical point of view, but more share from my sort of insights and from how this whole thing has emerged in such a spontaneous and organic way. Excuse the pun, but what I was thinking is, just to give a little recap. So the first talk, I talked a bit about my childhood and Krishnamurti school, and then the blessing that gave me to visit India when I was 16, and then to come back and live here when I was 19, and then meeting Fukuoka. And the second talk was very much about um, being with Fukuoka, and that Masanobu Fukuoka, who, in case you missed out on those talks, he's my inspiration, the author of the One Straw Revolution, and what it meant to meet him. It was like, very much as I said in the talk, like a diksha, like some sort of initiation, and how, by following his vision of a non-interventional farming, that means returning organic matter, and leaving nature more and more to her own natural wisdom, rather than an anthropocentric sort of viewpoint that, oh, we want this and we want that, and we're going to do this and we're going to do that, and we're going to follow this plan and then that plan, and we'll get this. But much more of gratitude and humility and acceptance, and that sort of attitude, I feel, that comes very much from Fukuoka's sort of way of expressing his love and adoration for Mother Nature, that I've sort of really, I guess that's what touched me from the beginning when I was reading Fukuoka, because that's what's happened at Solitude. It's been an adventure of love, and an emergence of an understanding that Mother Nature, if you leave her alone, she will blossom into this incredible food forest that feeds people. It offers medicine, it offers shade, it offers a space where community will all come around. The lowest common denominator, which is food. Everyone needs food, so everyone comes around, and then that's what you see at Solitude Farm. Then there are various things that have happened along the way that I feel are really instrumental to this narrative. And one of them has been my music. So I've always played guitar from the age of about 16. And in the Krishnamurti school in England, I had an amazing guitar teacher called Amancio de Silva. He was from Goa. And the Maharani of Jaipur gave him his first guitar. And he taught us jazz and lent us all his wonderful guitars to borrow. And this Gibson was played by Joe Cocker, and I was like, wow, it was amazing person to learn from. And I think that, for me, the music has always been so important because it's been a means to express my inner world, my deep emotional sort of world. And I've always written songs, even before I was playing guitar. I remember writing songs. And by 98, I made my first album, and by 2000, made my second. And then that was in Paris. And then 2003, I was back in Oroville for good. And Emergence, my band, started. And we did four albums now. Uh, excuse me. We did four albums so far, and we played in the Glastonbury Festival in UK. We played in the Kennedy Center. We played in the Blue Frog in Mumbai, and I always, not I've always loved working together with other musicians because it's like different cultures coming together and creating something. But I think that what a really the insight that I had was that by playing in this club in Mumbai for the sort of the millionaires and realizing that I really want to play music and create that space for my community as an extension of the food, because the food is obviously a primary adhesive in a society. It's a collective need. But I would say music, bringing people together to celebrate together is an equally important adhesive within a society. So we started the Lively Up Your Earth Eco Music Festival. Please go on YouTube and check out the video. You just write Lively Up Your Earth, or LUYE, Solitude Farm Music Festival. Quite a beautiful video about that, where there's workshops and there's cooking classes, cooking workshops, but there's also like massage workshops and astrology and tarot and block print and cardi and face painting and henna and clay, making clay vinayagams, Ganeshas, and it's just so beautiful. Two stages, and you really felt like that's the sort of the cherry on the top of Solitude. I, and I realized over time that without returning organic matter back to the soil, which is the first and last technique in any farming, without really allowing that, facilitating that beautiful process of decomposition that creates nutrition for the other plants. Without that, and without the exuberant expression of Mother Nature in these fields, there wouldn't be a reason to do a music festival. So that music festival happened because I would say returning organic matter back to the soil. It always comes back to the soil because the soil is the primary, the foundation of all our lives. And I guess this is the insight that I was, starting to have, that soil is so fundamental, and I guess there was a shift that I mean, I didn't notice the shift, but I guess there was a shift from trying to do something to more of a passive observing of what is happening. And and when I saw that when I think about that, I can see, that the plants that are growing in the farm, they've come about. Many of them have come about of their own accord. They've come about because they're meant to be there. They've self-sown, self-seeded. Maybe birds have dropped them, or the seeds were dormant in the subsoil, and certain trees are there now. Like there's a mango tree at the bottom of the farm, and there's a jackfruit here, and custard apples there, and ramphals there, and even guavas, and you're like, wow, it's so beautiful. But there's also the turkey berry everywhere that's self-sown, and rosella that's self-sown, and patches of ponangani which is a type of edible weed. It's a type of spinach that's good for your eyes and your liver. And I know exactly where those plants are. And it's like that's where they live. It's like they're members of this community, and they they are really like friends, and you know where they live, and you go and harvest them. And what that means is you start to realize, I guess what I'm trying to share with you is how I came to my insights, but you started to see that the honoring of Mother Nature starts with the soil, but then it goes on to actually harvesting these plants and using them. And that's of course where the farm to plate comes in. But the more you use them, the more they will give seeds. The more you will harvest those seeds, the more you will share those seeds, and the more you'll plant those seeds. And it's like a positive feedback. It's very much like the mulching. The more you mulch, the oh, I just saw a message there. Now it's gone. Sorry. Namaskar, whoever that was. I did see your message. Um, but the more you return organic matter, the more the health of the soil, and the more organic matter there is, and the more you cut, and the more you drop back to the soil, and the more the health. And it seems to be everything in a very positive feedback. But that doesn't come unless we're honoring the soil. Um, it's a bit like this plant, the Assamese giant lemon. If you watched any of my Instagram, you'll see that popping up all the time. So this tree I bought in Salem in a nursery in 2003, and planted it. And over the years, you at that age, you're just sort of doing things. You just plant the next thing, and that's whatever happens next. But over the years, I saw that plant pushed up suckers, and we would cut those suckers out and replant them again. And I realized that that is another characteristic of Mother Nature wanting to be prolific. And it's almost like by cutting it out and planting again, even more, you have more and more abundance. And that abundance is expressed in pickles, and it's expressed in people buying those pickles, having an income. It's expressed in people from Assam going, oh wow, that's my cultural thing, and friendships being formed. So I would say the way that plants propagate, the way they give up their seeds, the way that over the years you start to see the characteristics within this community. Or the rosella comes in this season, and now, for example, you can see the air potato starting to give fruits. The jackfruits are just little on the trees, and you get in sync with this, with the senses of the seasons, and the how these plants express themselves throughout the year. Now, this honoring of nature is not an abstract idea. It's something really practical. It's harvesting, it's propagating, it's saving seeds, it's drying seeds and planting them in the nursery. And it's something really based in something very, 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 very practical. And I think that as I've been going into that over many years, I started to see that the taste of these plants, when you eat like these edible weeds, you can really taste something very special. And that special is the medicinal value of the plants. And I start to see this sort of palette of medicine. So when I hear things like, oh, food is medicine, that becomes something very real to me. It's not an abstract idea of food is medicine. For me, it's so real, and I can taste that as well. The sort of sharp sweetness of the passion fruit, and the bitterness of this neem flower, and the taste from the butterfly pea. Everything has a unique characteristic, and that is the medicine. And that medicine is like, it's like a sort of almost like an energetic field of a sort of a precursor to a civilization. It's like maybe that is interwoven in a DNA of the Tamil people. I mean, not trying to be too mystical, but it sort of comes to me like that we simplify things in our very you know functional way of looking at food. You eat to go to work, to sign on, to get your check. But these tastes are medicine, these tastes are the subtle colors that allow a body to grow, and and to have the capacity to have language and poetry and philosophy and art. Look at the art in Tamil Nadu. I mean, the temples are just extraordinary, just absolutely extraordinary. And then, as I mentioned recently, or today and yesterday, actually, in a video about this thumbprint astrology, the Nadi Jadagam. I mean, I did this video yesterday, and some people are like, oh yeah, don't. Why are you talking about that rubbish? What are you talking about? Like, I'm not trying to sell anyone astrology, but I am saying the culture is so deep and so extraordinary, and that culture emerged from food, and that food emerged because the food gave a body, and the body gave a mind, and the mind gave a language, and the language gave a culture, and that came from the soil. And the soil is nothing more than all these microorganisms and molds and bacteria and insects and earthworms and mycelium, the fungi. And you start to see, like the other night, I was out in the field at night, because we are still trying to chase out pigs at night because they wreck so much stuff of the farm. And there were just hundreds of fireflies, and you see all of that, and it's just so magical. And then with a friend of mine, we had these electrodes that we put in the soil, and it fed to a sound card, what they use for recording music. And that sound card then was on his computer, and we were getting the electronic impulse, the electronic signals from the soil, translating them to music. So you think of the cosmos in the soil, making actual music. Again, you can see that on my Instagram. Um, and then the fireflies and all the different life there is in the farm, and the tastes and the smells. All of this is a benediction, you know. All of this is a blessing, but mankind with his, oh, I've got to get money from farming and dominate nature, and I come in with my tractor and my combine and my chemicals and my hybrid seeds, and you know, we're so vulgar in the way that we treating nature, and thus ourselves, and thus the erosion of our cultures, which you can see, as I mentioned, in England, or in America, is very evident. The erosion of our culture, and the sort of the erosion of any sort of healthy social structure is all down to the fact that we've lost our relationship with this most fundamental aspect of our lives, and that comes down to one sentence: where does my food come from? You know, so I'm just again sharing this to sort of try and paint a picture of how these insights have emerged. And as I say, all of them have emerged through real practical actions, like putting the mulch back on the field, harvesting the weeds, the ponangani spinach, observing the fireflies, and recognizing these plants, grow on their own, and basically understanding that there is an intelligence in nature, and you can't know that. Maybe you are part of it, but you can't know it. You can't define it. You can't own that. But you can rejoice in it. You can celebrate it. You can honor it. You can live with it. And if you go into that more and more, you start to see that this whole subject, becomes sort of intensely spiritual in many ways. I mean, I don't talk about spirituality much at all, because I feel that it confuses people. People desperately want to follow someone, or they want to, I don't know, they want it's very complex matter, spirituality. So I don't go there. But actually, if you go into this farm, and the food forest, and you perceive all these, these beautiful little aspects of her, from the soil to the insects, to the fireflies, to the tastes of the weeds and the fruits and the seeds and the generosity of nature. You start to see that nature doesn't have an agenda. Nature is not strategic in that way. Nature is like it drops 500 mangoes, and if you eat the mangoes, or a rat eats them, or if they germinate into trees, or if they rot, it's all the same for nature. Nature doesn't have a calculating agenda in that way. She just is. And since a young guy, young sort of, in my early 20s, I was very much into Advaita from Ramana Maharishi and Nisargadatta Maharaj, and of course the teachings of J. Krishnamurti, although he would not appreciate being defined as Advaita. Um, but this sort of sense that there is one thing in this world, and that you are, Tattvamasi, that thou art. There is only that one thing. And the nature, when you in the food forest, when you go into it in depth, you start to touch a little bit that insight that nature is just being. Nature doesn't need to go anywhere, because she just is. And I think within that there's a beautiful, there's beautiful wisdom to be maybe not to be learned, to be got, but just to be with. There's a beautiful blessing in that. So not striving, aligning with what already is. um and just made a few notes today. I was thinking, like, how can I give this? So just checking my notes. um I think, though, really is you have to live this life. This, like, I think a lot of us, we've been conditioned, in the school, that we learn this and we learn this and then we learn that. And Fukuoka, I remember him saying to us, if you learn one thing and you learn a second thing and a third thing, once you learn nine things, you learn the next thing, you don't have 10, you have nothing. Because learning about nature is not, sort of Descartesian, one plus one plus one plus one, and then you can't add up all the bits of what you've learned and call that nature. Nature is this incredibly, moving, dynamic, complex, and yet beautifully simple wave of energy of existence. And you can't just learn it in that very strategic way. You have to live with it. And yet, when you do start living with it, when you start planting trees and you start to see, hang on, if I put those leaves on the tree and you touch underneath the leaves, and in 2 days' time, you see, oh, it's still wet, there's your learning. You start to understand, okay, the moisture stays in the ground. And then maybe after another couple of months, you check and you see, oh, it's starting to decompose, and there are little worms and insects, and you start to sort of almost rejoice in those little understandings. And then you see, oh, a little bud has grown here and a little thing has grown here, but there's, I don't know, you start to understand. And maybe then you start to see, oh, there's a creeper growing here and it's got these seeds hanging off it. Let me harvest the seeds and dry them, and then you plant them again. And it's all a process of reclaiming, actually, something that's very ancient. I call it a birthright. It's a birthright to live with this relationship. But in our societies, we built cities and cars and jobs, and doors that you lock, and TVs that you turn on that have only your password to watch. And we sort of built a society that is the antithesis of what nature represents. And it's almost like we're not going to have any real happiness until we really find a way to embrace nature. And people say to me, okay, that's all very well, Krishna, but what do we do about living in the city? Well, I really don't have, answers for that. But I do believe that at least starting to eat local food is a good step forward, At least starting to try and trace that relationship back to say, okay, well, Wednesdays is the only day I can eat something local. I'll have drumstick spinach, the moringa kire, and and I know where it comes from. It comes from this little old lady who sells it on the side of the road, and she tells me it comes from this farm there. Good enough. I believe that action is an honoring of Mother Nature and an honoring of ourselves in many ways. And it seems almost naive. And I think many people who are, busy with making money and running big accounts and driving big cars might not have time for that sort of, narrative from me. But I believe that a big change could come about for us, as a society, if we could if we could just select say one day a week, and maybe it becomes a national movement, Moringa Mondays or something, and everyone is like encouraged, with ads on the TV and on the Instagram and posters at school and I don't know, street theater and God knows what, government policies and Mondays everyone eat Moringa kere. I mean, how wonderful would that be? People already like it. If you ask any Tamilian, they'll say, Amma, Muringa kere தான் ரொம்ப பிடிக்கும். It's our நம்பூரு சாப்பாடு. It's our local food, நம்பூரு உணவம். And you think, okay, well, that's great. Then if everyone likes it already, and that it doesn't come from very far away, so there's no carbon footprint. It's going to address lifestyle diseases and especially things like anemia and which is a massive one for many people I mean, especially women in Tamil Nadu. And you think about what it means on a cultural, on a social level, that people are really coming together and valuing something that they all have in common. They need this. And there you see, that's my big insight. Maybe the biggest insight I'll ever have is that it grows empathy. And empathy is something you can't buy. Empathy is not something you can tell people, okay, now you have to have empathy. This top-down authoritative sort of, control that we have in our world. It's something that comes naturally to people. And if you have a collective value, collect something that we all recognize, that we're all brothers and sisters on this point, is that we all love Muringakire and we all value Muringakire. Maybe that grows empathy, and maybe that would be one of the most amazing, you know, profits of a food forest, of returning back to where our food comes from, is this empathy. So all the efforts that I've been doing over these years, returning organic matter, honoring the edible weeds, starting the food forest, starting the farm to plate cafe, learning about the foods that are truly integral to a cultural nutritional heritage, that what I call in Tamil the Pukisham, this treasure. All of that, along with the music and making the music festivals and running workshops and facilitating all sorts of events, whether it's story reading or kids activities or Saturday morning jazz session, jazz session, whatever it is, it's always been towards bringing people together over this lowest common denominator, which is food. And
Hey, I'm sorry to
recognizing.
interrupt.
I wouldn't dream of saying that I'm like Fukuoka, but I do feel like that sentence resonates with me. And there's nothing special about me, you know. A lot of people, because of the media, you know, it's about 10 years now. We were on the TV, and then I did the Z Tamil for a year, for a full season, 26 episodes of the cooking show, and we've had so many videos go viral and still going viral. So people see me, they you know, they want a photo, and I sort of say to them, you know, but it's not going to help you much. You do better to have a bowl of moringa kere, drumstick spinach, you know. There's nothing special about me. And I think that when we make people into, you know, a sort of a hero, or, oh, you are an expert and you're, you know, you are doing this and we're so happy you're doing this. It almost like gives us an excuse not to do something ourselves. It takes off that sort of, you know, oh, he'll do it, you know. And it's kind of interesting, like when you look at this whole, the recognition that this farm and what my work has received. I mean, it's really touching, I tell you, because before it was like I was like writing articles to my local Oroville newspaper, and I would print things, and I had so much to say. And why don't we made a local food movement called Localicious, and we did this and that and had markets, and I was behind so much stuff, but no one really cared, you know. And it was like, and you just, then you get some recognition, you know, and the TV comes, and then every single TV in Tamil Nadu came in within the space of like 5 or 6 days. I mean, it was utterly mad. We were watching the numbers jump on Facebook like 1,000 a second, you know, it was a minute, you know, it was like mad. And I remember like thinking back, how has this happened? And I actually know very well how people have been inspired by all of this. And it started off by me recognizing that Tamil people are so proud of their culture, and so they should be, you know. And my recognition was that that culture is very much related to their food. So when people are forgetting about where their food comes from, they're losing their culture. And that's always been the sort of the basic premise. Then the understanding of, you know, deep, going deeper into that, oh, it's about the soil and the life in the soil and the type of plants that grow, and then the characteristics of local food, that they're easy to grow, they, you know, there's no effort or expertise, they have no carbon footprint and high medicinal value. All of those ideas sort of came later. But I think that that fundamental idea that you have a population so proud of their culture, and that when you point out to them that their culture is actually the food, and they don't eat those foods anymore, that it really sort of prods people, and made a lot of people think. And yeah, that was another insight that made this whole thing pop, you know. But as far as me, though, there's nothing special about me, so to say. You know, I say to other people, you know, time is a currency. You give time and spend time with nature every day, you know, 20 years, 30 years, and give time and be with her, and you'll see the same things. You know, there's absolutely no doubt about it. You'll see the same things. Maybe you'll have a different way to express it, you know. Maybe you're more of an introvert, and you do things in another way, or maybe you have a much better, you know, way of talking about it than I do, and maybe you're better at education and organization, and you organize basket services really well, whatever. But the same things you will see, because they are what emerge from a relationship with nature. And if you have a relationship where you allow and accept and have gratitude, and you don't come in with tractors and plowing and trying to define her, you will end up with Solitude Farm. There's no doubt about it. So yeah, that's kind of the end of this third talk I'm really wondering what I'm going to talk about for the fourth talk. Surely I have more things to say, um, especially about how do we bring this, how do we bring this out into the society? That's like a really big question. That's not like, that's not only my burden, that's like, how do we bring this forward? And I think that's probably what we'll talk about in the next talk. I wanted to give a chance for some questions and answers. If any of you who are still there would like to ask something or share something, I'm really happy to have a little talk, a discussion, if you'd like, or answer some questions if you have any. I can see smiley faces.
I saw that.
Hey, hi,
I see Deepak Vijay Kumar's smiley face.
that's it. Yeah, yeah. Hey, hi, Krishna. How are you doing?
Hey, Deepak.
Yeah,
Deep-
perfect. Yeah, I'm from Pondicherry, and I've been following you for quite some time.
okay,
And I work in IT.
okay,
I work from home at the moment. But for the last 3 months, I started. I recently bought a farm and I started farming. And
okay.
I have zero experience about farming. I'm just talking to the neighbors and trying to understand what do they do. And currently, we're just put in some peanuts and black gram for the
Okay,
nitrogen
great.
fixing. I'm still starting as I have zero idea about farming. So whatever the neighbors are doing, that's what I'm doing. So I just want to
Okay.
start at some point, learn some basics, and learn from it. So currently, I just set up Wi-Fi so I can work from the farm. So that's what happening right now. So I just want to
I
learn
mean,
from
that's
you
that's
and
that's that's
understand that.
wonderful. I mean, I do recognize, that I like to talk about the philosophy, but actually, the ABCs are so important. So I think the first thing you have to do when you're looking at a land is look at the topography. Does it flood? Maybe Curtis, you can keep Deepak open. Yeah. So, Deepak, you want to stay unmuted?
Yeah, he can unmute himself. I've allowed everybody to unmute.
Okay, fine. No problem. No problem. So
Oh, yeah.
the first thing is the topography. Like if your fields flood, that's going
Mhm.
to limit what you can do. You're not going to do papayas in a flooding land. You might think, if it's a flooding land, like we in Tamil Nadu we have a lot of lands being built on yeri on the lakes,
Yes.
but raised.
Yes.
So those type of lands, you mean if they're flooding heavily, that's a real challenge. Maybe you can do
Yeah.
rice out of the season, but
Right.
if it's not a flooding land, then I personally recommend food forest, and that
Mhm.
means, if you the ebook has just been launched. Now, I don't know if you got it. It's called "Soil is the New Menu." It's a lot of the things we've been talking about, but we also have a chapter in it where we look at sort of the ABCs. That's so we start with long duration fruit trees, keeping the
Right.
biggest fruit trees on the eastern side, and the western side is for the smaller fruit trees. Um, and then in between those long duration fruit trees that you have to give the right spacing to. Like I see a lot of farms now packing mango trees so close together. I'm thinking when those mango trees grow, they're going to get all in twisted, but
Yeah.
keeping the right spaces and have diversity of fruit trees. And then in between those fruit trees, you look at the medium duration crops like bananas, papayas, the moringa, the agati, and also some things like the yams, like the vettali velikiranga, the air potato, or things like pineapple and tapioca, also 10 months to a year. That's the sort of the next group. And then in between that, you start looking at the 7 month crops, what we call the sepan kelenga in Tamil, the arbi, Hindi
Yeah.
may arbi, or the English we call it taro, and that you need a bit of moisture for. But also the karna kelenga, the elephant foot yam, or the manjal. So then, as the as your as your life grows more and more with the food forest, say, let's say 5 or 6 years from now, and you see, oh, I don't have any sunlight left. I can't be doing peanuts and ulundu anymore, the black gram, the urid dal.
Yeah.
Um, I need plants that are shade tolerant. So the manjal, the turmeric is perfect for that. And then say in 10 years' time, when you've got even less shade, even more shade, sorry, then you start with the tipali, because tipali is even more shade tolerant.
Right.
And then wherever you have light, you start looking at the vegetables. So, like, we have a variety of lady's finger here called Burmese giant lady's finger. It grows about 4 meters high and gives a lot of lady's fingers. And the beauty of that plant is it finds the light. It'll climb to the light like a papaya and a banana. They go up. And then things like pumpkins that will creep towards the light. And even that ashgourd, the Kalyanam Pusni, that will climb on the trees. And you start to see that you're playing with a tapestry of nutritional, um, heritage. The what you need to do then is start to observe the plants that grow again in between all of that, which are the edible weeds, the ponangani, the tuduvali, the moratakan, the sangapu, the guduchi, the giloy, the amritam kodi, all of these things, and you start to see them. The only way you will really, really learn about them is by harvesting them and cooking them. And to do that, you need what party tantewa, party or amma, you know,
Yeah.
and and really eat them. I swear to God, if you go there and you make it like you have your job and you do your timings and you work hard, but you say, okay, this 1 hour or 2 hours a week, I'm gonna go with one old lady from the village and she's gonna show me what to harvest. We'll go back and to the kitchen and we'll cook something. That will be your biggest education, I promise you. Okay?
Okay. Yeah. Makes sense.
And come
So
and visit us in the farm.
yes,
Saturdays
see,
11:30.
basically, so yeah, I that's what I wanted to ask. So what happens on Saturday 11:30s?
It's
Because I've
like
never
this
been to your
like
farm.
this talk, but we
Mhm.
show it in practice.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Everything in practice, and
Because
then you eat the food afterwards. There's the real education, is always in eating, I promise you. It might sound naive, but it's not.
okay, perfect. I'll definitely check out this coming week.
Look look forward to it. And it's, if you look on our website, phone number is there and all, and everything, access for the security checkposts and everything like that. Okay.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Deepak. Kaushik, you had a question. Please unmute yourself and let that question out.
Koshik said he's putting his kids to sleep, but we have,
But he had a question. Is it gone, or it was printed on the screen, but I can't see it now.
yeah, he asked, um, someone who has a farm mentioned that mango is extremely sensitive. It can't tolerate any water while flowering. How do we deal with this kind of stuff in a food forest?
Well, I think that a lot of those things that people say, oh, this is like that and that is like this, I've just seen the opposite of everything everyone has said always. Always see the opposite, and sometimes see what they've said is to be true as well. Like, we have a mango tree that's been completely flooded, um, and now it's going to start flowering. There's no doubt about it. So I guess those things are sort of general observations, and, like, I mean, again, it's topography. If your land is floodable, usually you won't really go for the food forest there, because the plants won't survive very well. But normally, when the mango is flowering, you don't get water logging anyway. Let's move on. Usha, you
Um,
had a question.
yeah, and
Usha, hi,
Yes.
Usha.
okay.
Hi, Krishna.
Namaste. Where are you based,
Namaste.
Usha?
In Bangalore.
Mangalore, lovely. Tell me.
ma- well, while we're talking about the mango trees, last year this is a new land for me, and last year there are mango trees already there, but the fruit had lots of worms in them. Last year's crop. How do I deal with it? That is what worked for you. If you can share, please.
So, firstly, I don't approach anything like that. If you read Masanobu Fukuoka's One Straw Revolution, he destroyed over 100 mandarin trees through his reckless efforts to understand nature's natural processes. And
Mhm.
he saw that he said that you should just be able to leave anything to grow naturally and it will grow. So he left his father's, 100 mandarin trees alone that had been every year carefully pruned to the shape of a sake cup. That's how he describes it in his book. So they'd already undergone so much manipulation, and then they were like, it's a bit like, raising a tiger in a zoo, and then when it's like, 20 years old, just left it in the forest. Like, can it manage? Like, many cases not. So it's like when you've manipulated nature, and then you expect her to be, let her be as she is naturally, then she can't manage. So in many cases, when you see things like the mango tree having some issues, it's firstly probably to do with soil, like
Okay.
not having something, not maybe with the soil. Maybe there's not enough gaps between the trees. Is it a very dense mango tope?
No, no, it is not. But I think what you said about the soil would apply. And over the last year, I've been working on the soil. Now I see a few earthworms there, which is like made me happy. So we planted some pulses and like got it back into the land. So I think the land is getting better.
What you
So
can do, like, just practically, what you can do is, like, because now your monsoon is finished, no?
yes,
So what you can do now is just maybe pile, like literally pile up, a good 1 foot or more organic matter all underneath the tree, like not only at the trunk, like don't touch it to the trunk, give it a bit of gap, and then all
okay.
the way to the periphery of the where the leaves end. And then in the next season, you could plant the whole of that area and then maybe put compost on top of that to let it all decompose. And then maybe the next season you could plant tipoli underneath the mango tree, because tipoli will go very well under mango trees. And
Tipali
there,
is, can you give me in another name? Tipali is which what?
pipper longum, Piper. It's a type of pepper, pipper longum,
Oh, okay,
long black
okay,
pepper.
okay, okay, okay,
So it's
okay,
it's extremely shade tolerant.
okay, okay.
And it can grow very well. And then you can even put on the mango trunk, next to the mango trunk, you could plant 2 or 3 normal peppers, and that normal pepper will climb up the trunk. So you'll have pepper up the trunk. I have
Mm,
this in the farm, like as
okay.
part of the farm tour. I think the second location where I stop these days is like 50 people on the tour, is under this
Mm,
huge mango tree. And I say to people, look at this mango tree. Under the mango tree, you have tipoli. On the mango tree, you have long black, the normal black pepper, the table pepper, what we call piper nigra. And then
mm,
hanging in the tree, you have giloi, the guduchi, the amritam kodi, the nectar of immortality, this beautiful edible weed. And people start to, can see practically what you know plants that have different physiology and time duration living together looks like.
great, great. Yes, okay. I'll try that. The pepper, the
Pippa
pipali,
longum.
pipalongam, and the third one you said what is hanging
That's the
is
giloi. That you don't, that giloi, guduchi. That you want to do only on a very senior tree. You don't want to too much overwhelm a young tree.
These are senior trees. They came with the
Then
land.
then you can see if you can get some Giloy coming through a little bit. It's nice.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much.
Sometimes the Giloy can dominate a little bit, but in this case it doesn't dominate. But we have this beautiful Giloy hanging in between the branches.
Okay,
And then
okay.
what you really want to do if you're like, how big is your farm? How big is the farm, Usha?
It's 2 acres.
Oh, fantastic. Not too big, but not too small. You need to
Yes.
integrate chop and drop plants. That means Mexican sunflower and gliricidia. You want to have that as rows of them throughout the farm, on the fence and also in rows throughout the farm, because that's the organic matter that you will cut and return back to the soil. They're also pollinators, they're also windbreaks, they're also fixing nitrogen and other nutritional, different um, compounds and stuff.
You're talking
And
about
huh?
Mexican. You said it is Mexican
Mexican sunflower.
sunflower. Okay. And
Mexican
where do
sunflower
I get
and
this?
gliricidia. Gliricidia. Gliricidia.
Gliricidia. Okay.
That's a very
Uh,
common plant in sort of organic farming movement because they also use it as a fodder for their cows.
okay. 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 These are some of the first lessons I'm learning. So that is bear with me.
Yeah, and really, like, I mean, I love this sharing with people who are starting. And as Deepak said, I have no experience. That's fantastic, because the people who say they know, like, they're the ones who are sustaining a very wrong understanding of agriculture. Like, I would say one of the best things you could do, as I said to Deepak, is find an old lady or even a group of them and go for a walk in the 2 acres and ask them, can you show me plants that you used to have, when you were a child, and collect them and harvest them and try and cook them, because that is the thread that you pull back to a cultural nutritional heritage, and it's that will teach you more than anything else.
But unfortunately, Krishna, I'm the old lady with no knowledge here.
You find some other ladies, they'll come and play and dance and joke and eat with you.
Yes, I shall
Yeah,
try
you
that.
need you need that. It's very important.
Yes. So,
Okay.
thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming to this talk, Usha. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Kaushik is come back or not? Kaushik. Hey,
Yes.
sorry, my phone dropped.
Yeah.
Hey, Kaushik, how are you, man?
Hey, Krishna, how are you? So
Very
thank you
good.
for the session. Sorry, my kids are asleep, so I can
No
talk now.
problem. No
So
problem.
yeah, I'm from Hyderabad, and we very much a newbie. We're just looking to buy a land, so you can say that we're very newbies here. So like one more question from my side is we're in Hyderabad now, and we are Tamil, so we want to eventually move back to Tamil Nadu, but it's going to take a while. So if we want to grow our own forest, fruit forest, we need to be there. And how do you suggest us to transition? We have some family to help us out, so we can slowly start. But how do you
Where
suggest
எந்த
us?
ஊருங்க? தமிழ்நாட்டுல?
Near Chengalpet.
Chengalpet. That's so if you bought land, it would be near Chengalpet or what?
That's what we're looking near Chengalpet or probably Dindivanam along that area.
Crazy prices. Crazy
I know,
prices,
I know,
Chengalpet.
I know.
They're
My
everywhere,
father say
everywhere now.
there is some villages where he can try, but yeah,
Yeah.
we
Or
may
you
go
go
further
towards,
to buy cheaper.
yeah,
Yeah,
you go inside from Tindivanam. That maybe is a bit better. But
that's what we.
first thing is, don't buy a big land. Like
Okay,
Usha said, she has 2 acres. My
2 acres.
God, I'm so happy for her. Was that Usha or
Hmm.
Deepak? Anyway, one of them said they have 2 acres. That is so good, because Some people think, oh, I'll get 10 acres, 15 acres. My
Mm-hmm.
God, it's like a weight over their neck, and then they're drowning. They can't manage the fence. They can't manage the
Mm-hmm.
nothing. It's too much. So
Mm-hmm.
a small land is the best.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, like, if I was starting again, I would start with 1 acre max.
Mm-hmm.
It depends what you want. If you're gonna have many
Mm-hmm.
people living there, you might need a bit more
That's right.
space.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
But already an acre or two is more than enough land. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing is make sure the land is not on a yeri,
Mm-hmm.
the lakes, no, which that's அது
Mm-hmm.
ரொம்ப கஷ்டம் தான். அப்போ தண்ணி
Mm-hmm.
செம தண்ணி நிக்கலாம். You can't do anything in the
Mm-hmm.
flooding.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Also look at the history of the land. It would be very cool if the land could be fenced, because the fencing is going to cost you a bloody arm and a leg. I tell you, it was
Mm-hmm.
number seluda ipo, to fence in a couple of acres. I think you're going to look at a minimum of 2.5, lakhs, if not more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, and also how you do your fencing. Make sure your fencing is, this is the ground. The fencing has to be under the ground, because this
Mm-hmm.
katapani, the wild pigs are
Rainbow.
everywhere, and they'll just dig it up. So if the
Mm-hmm.
fence is a good foot under the ground, you have to get the 6 feet diamond mesh. I mean, maybe you're not there yet, but I'm sure sowing the ideas in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have a
Mm-hmm.
6 foot diamond mesh, 1 foot in the ground and 5 foot above the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Very important. I mean, even I'm working with one friend in Chennai, and we're looking at what we're doing on his land, and we're even putting in kadaba slabs in the ground,
Mm-hmm.
like 1.5 feet deep, so that the pigs can't go under, and then they have the fence.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's very important. Don't skimp on your infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
Don't say, oh, that will save me 10,000. Pay the 10,000 and get a good fence. Don't
Mm-hmm.
save money on a bad pipe system. Do it good
Mm-hmm.
from the beginning. Get a good bore well. Have a little storeroom. Don't make it, if you have to spend another couple of lakhs, spend it, because you will be so happy for it later. Do things properly from the beginning.
Yep.
Then you need a house on the land. Probably you need to have even a watchman's house on the land. So
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
can do a simple house to start with that may eventually go for the watchman, or maybe
Mm-hmm.
some family will come and stay there while you are moving around, and because you might not
Mm-hmm.
be there
Mm-hmm.
all the time. But
Yep.
do it again, do things beautifully, because the
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
aesthetic is what gives you value in what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And once you've got all that, then you make sure you're at the land. I think, like what Deepak was telling, that he's setting up his Wi-Fi so he can do his online work at the
Yep.
land. This
Yep.
thing of,
Yep.
oh, I live there and I go to my land, is really messed up. You have to be
Mm-hmm.
on
Mm-hmm.
the land.
Yep.
Otherwise, you can watch it on YouTube.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
like
Yep. Yep.
you have to be there. So, make it your paradise, man, and make it in such a way where other family members can comfortably come. Maybe think about doing kitchen outside, like an
Mm-hmm.
outside kitchen, even the bathroom outside, and just
Yep.
it's such a beautiful opportunity to do things differently, you
Absolutely.
know, in not just
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
concrete house and all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. We're a big family. I have we have 3 kids, and we're also predominantly like plant-based raw. So we're looking to grow a lot of fruits, probably
That's
local
it, man.
vegetables. Yeah. Okay.
That's it. You're sorted, man. I mean, the first thing you plant, right, when you get the land, like even the fence is not done, you get like 100 cuttings of what we call Mayan tree spinach, the chaya.
Mm-hmm.
Our ladies,
Mm-hmm.
they don't know it. They call it marakire because it's like a tree spinach. And you
Mm-hmm.
just start plugging it in the ground, chuck, 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 chuck. Within 4 or 5 weeks, already you start harvesting it. It might
Mm-hmm.
be only 1% of your diet, but it's so tasty. It's very good for your calcium, and and then you have your moringa, and within 4 or 5 months you harvest the moringa, and then you start identifying the edible weeds, and you really grasp one thing: you're planting a menu. That's what you're doing. These key ideas have to be in your head, So that's why I don't listen too much to when Deepak saying listen to his neighbors. I got why he needs some support to start, but no one is
Yeah.
thinking like that,
Yep.
because
Yep.
we're not looking at the food as an economic value. We're looking at the food for eating, for nutritional value. And that's why you need that little old lady that I'm saying Usha should find and go around with. You need those people. And then you start to see that plant. You observe with your heart the flowers, the leaf, where it's growing, how it's growing, and try and, as a job, you go and can I see it in other places? And then that's your first friend, that's the first
Yeah.
member in your community. It's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
process, Kaushik. It'll take you time. But be
Absolutely. Yeah.
sure of
Yeah.
one thing, my friend. Be sure of one thing. You 100% can do this. It's not difficult. It just requires the intention you have in your heart, in your mind. Just keep going straight and do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Krishna.
You're
Wonderful.
so welcome, Kaushik. And we lost Mutu. Bye, Mutu. Sorry, pa. Okay, so I guess we're gonna wrap this up. Um, Prakash, I'm very sorry that you came at the very end. Um, but I'll make it up to you. Okay. So, guys, unless anyone has anything else to say, good night. And I hope you can come to Solitude um, and visit on a farm to 11:30 every Saturday. And also, we have this ebook out called Soil is the New Menu. Hey, Deepak, Soil is the New Menu. I strongly recommend you to get it because you will hear all these ideas, they need to just like gently perforate into your consciousness. But thank you so much. Good night.